What you need to be careful about is that if you undergo chemotherapy, which is used to treat cancer, together with high-dose vitamin C, there is a possibility that the effectiveness of the chemotherapy may decrease due to interactions between them. Thank you for watching the video. Are you taking any supplements? Actually, Japan is one of the world's leading countries when it comes to supplements. It is said that about 1 in 3 people across all age groups, from their 20s to their 70s, take supplements, and especially among women, the percentage increases as they reach middle age and older. And among all supplements, this vitamin is the most commonly taken. When people hear the word vitamin, they think it's an essential nutrient for the body, so they feel they have to take it. That's why many people take things like multivitamins or vitamin C. Mr. A, who is in his late 50s and comes to my outpatient clinic, said, "By the way, doctor, I take these vitamin D and vitamin A supplements." He told me that he's been trying them out. Apparently, he heard about vitamin D from a registered dietitian. His daughter, a registered dietitian, bought him the supplements, and since taking them, he's felt better. He learned they're considered good for skin and eyes. It seems he bought vitamin A supplements. However, did you know? While vitamin A supplements are said to be good for the skin and eyes, taking too much can cause headaches, liver problems, and even increase the risk of weakened bones. So, in this video, I'll introduce 3 dangerous vitamins you might regret not knowing about in the first part. In the second part, I'll explain how not to be fooled by common marketing phrases like high concentration, natural, or standardized. And finally, I'll share the vitamins that doctors actually recommend for health. On this channel, I share easy to understand and enjoyable information from a doctor's perspective so you can live a vibrant life even in the second half of your life. I'd be really happy if you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos. Now, let's get started with the first part, where I'll introduce 3 dangerous vitamins you might regret not knowing about. 3 dangerous vitamins you might regret not knowing about. Here's the first one. It's vitamin E. Vitamin E is widely praised as a vitamin with strong antioxidant properties, and it's often called the vitamin of rejuvenation. It's true that vitamin E works to prevent the fats in your body from oxidizing. Because of this, it's said to help lower cholesterol, reduce blood pressure, and prevent arteriosclerosis, which is the hardening of the arteries. But what happens if you take too much vitamin E? In fact, for people who have cancer, there are reports that taking too much vitamin E can reduce the effectiveness of chemotherapy, increase mortality rates, and for men, raise the risk of prostate cancer. According to a famous study, there is research that analyzed the intake of vitamins and the risk of death in about 130,000 people by combining studies conducted at 19 institutions. Out of 11 trials where high doses of vitamin E were taken, it was confirmed that in 9 of them, the mortality rate actually increased. If you take too much vitamin E through supplements, the idea is that your blood becomes too thin, which increases the risk of bleeding, possibly leading to cerebral hemorrhage and a higher mortality rate. In the first place, for people who have a normal diet in Japan or the United States, it's very unlikely that they would become deficient in vitamin E. People with Crohn's disease or certain special conditions may have trouble absorbing vitamin E, but there are very few people who actually need to take supplements just because they're lacking vitamin E. Vitamin E is a fat-soluble vitamin, which means it dissolves in oil. The more you take, the more it accumulates in your body fat, causing its concentration in your body to keep increasing, so please be careful. The second of the 3 dangerous vitamins you might regret not knowing about is this one. It's vitamin A. Mr. A, whom I mentioned at the beginning, was also taking this vitamin A. Vitamin A is said to be good for your skin and eyes, so it's popular among people who are concerned about presbyopia or want to take care of their skin. The common claims are that it enhances the body's barrier function and helps prevent dry skin, wrinkles, acne, and itchy skin. It's true that vitamin A is very important for our eyesight, immunity to protect us from germs, and reproductive ability to pass on our genes. In addition, vitamin A is also necessary for the normal functioning of the heart, lungs, and kidneys. However, since this vitamin A is abundant in natural foods, I have never seen anyone in Japan develop symptoms due to a deficiency of vitamin A. In developing countries, there are many children who have lost their sight due to a deficiency of vitamin A. That being said, it's also good for your skin and reduces the risk of blindness. If you're thinking that maybe you should take vitamin A supplements just in case, actually, that could be dangerous. If you take too much vitamin A, you might feel sick, get headaches, and in the worst case, you could fall into a coma, not wake up, and even die. And it's especially important for pregnant women to be careful. If pregnant women take too much vitamin A, it can cause abnormalities in their babies. Especially for pregnant women who have severe morning sickness and can't eat at all, they may feel like they have to take multivitamins or various supplements, but they need to be careful not to unknowingly increase their vitamin A intake too much. 3 dangerous vitamins you need to know about. Here's the third one. It's vitamin C. Anyway, when you're tired, vitamin C is good. As long as you take vitamin C, you'll be fine. It gives you peace of mind, right? Of course, vitamin C is very important. Collagen is produced to heal wounds, but vitamin C is also essential for making this collagen. And furthermore, vitamin C promotes the absorption of iron, so for people with anemia, it's a well-known fact in the medical field that taking vitamin C together increases absorption efficiency. And if you become deficient in vitamin C, you can develop a disease called scurvy, which causes your blood to break down. Your blood vessels become fragile, leading to bleeding from the skin or gums, and it becomes a very serious disease. In the past, scurvy became well known as a disease of pirates and sailors, and it's believed that they developed this illness because they couldn't get fresh, vitamin C-rich fruits while on ships. Vitamin C has many benefits like this, but there are also some things to be careful about. Have you ever seen people getting high-dose vitamin C IV drips? There was once a belief that these high-dose vitamin C drips might reduce mortality rates. A paper was published on this topic and it became famous worldwide. However, the idea that high-dose vitamin C drips reduce mortality has been overturned by many subsequent studies, and now it is believed that such expected effects are unlikely. Of course, the effects may vary from person to person, but the general consensus in the medical community is that there is no significant benefit. What I want you to be careful about with vitamin C is people who have cancer. There are many people who report that their cancer disappeared after receiving high-dose vitamin C drips, but of course that doesn't apply to everyone. There are also cases where the cancer just happened to disappear at the same time they were receiving high-dose vitamin C. And what you need to be careful about is that if you undergo chemotherapy for cancer treatment together with high-dose vitamin C, there is a possibility that the effectiveness of the chemotherapy may decrease due to interactions between them. Therefore, I can't say that you should never get these kinds of vitamin injections, but if you want to do them, make sure to consult with your treating physician first. There can be unexpected disadvantages, so please be careful because things you think are good for your health can actually have the opposite effect. Here, when it comes to using supplements, there's a very important concept to keep in mind. The word supplement itself means to add or to supplement something. It basically means that supplements are meant to make up for something that's lacking. So if you rely on supplements without knowing exactly what you're missing, it can actually cause side effects and have the opposite effect. Of course, I've also seen people whose health has improved with supplements, and some of the vitamins I'll explain later are actually ones I prescribe as medicine. Be sure to find out what's lacking and which supplements are right for you by consulting with your treating physician or a healthcare professional before making a decision. Now, let's review the first lesson, 3 vitamins you'll regret not knowing about. The first is vitamin E. I explained that excessive intake of vitamin E can increase bleeding, raise mortality rates, and possibly increase the risk of prostate cancer. The second is vitamin A. It's said to be good for your skin and eyes, but if you take too much it can make you feel sick, cause headaches, and in the worst case, lead to a coma. Pregnant women especially need to be careful, as it can affect their child. And finally, vitamin C. Vitamin C is a very good vitamin, but there is a risk that it can interact with certain chemotherapy treatments, and if you take too much, it can make you feel sick or cause diarrhea, so please be careful. In the second period, I'll discuss important points to consider about supplement claims like natural ingredients, natural foods, and standardized products. Have you ever taken collagen or chondroitin? Hearing phrases like uses natural collagen makes you think it's totally safe and will boost your body's collagen, raising expectations. However, there is no solid scientific evidence that collagen or chondroitin is actually good for your health. To put it simply, these substances are just proteins. Even if you consume proteins like collagen orally, your stomach produces digestive enzymes that break them down and then they're absorbed throughout your body. It's not realistic to think that collagen would conveniently reach only the skin on your face, or that chondroitin would be delivered specifically to your knees. It's the same idea as thinking that if your hair is thinning, eating hair would make your hair grow back. If that were all, it wouldn't be so bad, but the problem is that there isn't much safety data on things like chondroitin and collagen. It's even said that pregnant women and those who are breastfeeding should avoid using them. And the second thing you need to be careful about are the terms natural ingredients and natural food. If you think that using natural ingredients means there are no artificial substances and it's safe, you need to be careful. The phrase natural does not guarantee safety. There are many substances that exist in nature that can have harmful effects on the body. A well-known example of this is herbs. In Japan and overseas, herbal products are often sold as natural, but some herbal products can cause serious liver damage. And even supplements labeled as natural or all natural can contain more than 10 different chemicals when you take a close look at the ingredient list. So, I can't say that you should completely avoid products labeled as natural or made with natural ingredients, but please be aware that natural does not always mean safe. Here's the third point to watch out for in common supplement advertising claims. This is what's called a standardized product. When you hear standardized product, you tend to think that safety is absolutely guaranteed, that it's fine, and that it's a reliable product. However, the term standardized product doesn't mean it's safe at all. To begin with, there are many different types of standards, and just because something meets a certain standard doesn't mean it's absolutely safe. There's no guarantee of that. With these standardized products, we can't guarantee safety, but they only contain ingredient amounts that meet a set standard. Other substances aren't included. They are substances that follow those rules. That's all they're saying, but there could still be substances included that aren't covered by those standards, and just because something is within the standard doesn't necessarily mean it's absolutely safe. So, just because something meets standards doesn't mean it's dangerous, but don't assume it's safe just because it's labeled that way. Let's change this mindset. This concludes the second period review. Supplements that claim to contain ingredients like chondroitin or collagen, which are components of the body, don't necessarily mean those ingredients will directly reach your body, so please be careful not to believe everything you hear. And words like natural or all natural. Let's not be swayed by catchphrases like standardized products. Even our medicines are sometimes originally extracted from natural products, and there are also medicinal herbs that can cause serious liver damage. Let's be careful not to be deceived by these kinds of catchphrases. Thank you for waiting. In the third period, I will introduce the top 3 most effective nutrients that doctors can recommend as supplements. Here is the first of the top 3 most effective supplements. It's vitamin D. I've explained the risks of various vitamins, but when it comes to vitamin D, I often prescribe it in my outpatient clinic as well. A study by Jikkeikai Medical University examined about 5,000 people who underwent health checkups in Tokyo to see if they had enough vitamin D. As a result, it was found that an astonishing 98% of Japanese people had low levels of vitamin D. So, what kind of effects can we expect from vitamin D? Vitamin D is a vitamin that strengthens bones. It promotes the absorption of calcium and makes bones stronger. Not only that, but it also has effects such as preventing falls, and it may help improve depression, which is when your mood gets low. These kinds of effects are expected from vitamin D. For patients with osteoporosis, which is common among middle-aged and older women, it is recommended to take vitamin D as a medication. Vitamin D, in terms of international units, is said to require about 900 units per day, but it is said that the average Japanese diet only provides about 600 units. This means that even with a normal diet, there is an average deficiency of about 300 units. Therefore, after consulting with a doctor, if you are lacking vitamin D, I think it's a good idea to consider taking supplements. However, ideally, you should get vitamin D from your diet. As a recommended food rich in vitamin D that you can easily get even at convenience stores, milk is a good option. With just 1 glass of milk, you can get 100 units of vitamin D. Along with that, you can also get the calcium needed to build bones, so it's highly recommended. If you don't like drinking milk every day, I recommend yogurt as well. Some yogurts have added vitamin D. Yogurt with added vitamin D is also rich in calcium, so just like milk, it helps strengthen your bones in 2 ways. I recommend eating these kinds of foods when you feel a little hungry. There's a video that explains vitamin D in detail, so please check it out from the description if you're interested. The second of the top 3 nutrients that doctors recommend getting from supplements is DHA and EPA. Docosahexaenoic acid and eicosapentaenoic acid are the ones found in fish oil. You've probably been told that fish oil is good for your brain, so make sure to get enough of it. Regardless of whether that's true or not, fish oil does have positive effects on the body. It's a type of oil called omega-3 fatty acids, which helps thin the blood and lower cholesterol. In particular, there are many reports that taking EPA lowers the risk of heart disease and reduces blood pressure. It's easy to remember if you think of fish as having oils that keep their blood thin so their bodies don't form clots even in cold seawater. When you cook meat dishes, the oil often gets greasy, but when you cook fish, the oil rarely turns white and solidifies, right? In this way, the oil from fish has the effect of thinning the blood. Actually, when I realize I haven't eaten fish lately, I sometimes take these DHA and EPA supplements. However, what you need to be careful about here is that just because a doctor is taking them, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're always good for your health. The main reason I'm taking these supplements is that it's a way for me to care for my own body and pay attention to my health. In fact, among the patients I see in my outpatient clinic, there are more people who became healthy by eating a variety of foods than those who take a lot of supplements and say they're healthy. The same goes for fish oil. There's data showing that getting it from actual fish rather than from supplements has greater health benefits. There is data showing that people who eat fish 4 or more times a week have a significantly lower risk of developing diseases where the blood vessels in the heart become clogged compared to those who don't. And there's even data showing that just increasing your fish intake by 100 grams per week can lower your risk of heart disease by 5% each time. The data shows that the more fish you eat, the lower your risk of heart and blood vessel diseases, so if you want to get fish oil, please try to eat real fish rather than relying on supplements. By choosing fish instead of meat, you can relatively reduce the amount of fat you consume and efficiently get protein, so I recommend it. If you hear that even eating fish once a week can have an effect, doesn't it make you want to give it a try? Personally, I often eat canned fish. Canned foods are well made, and since they don't let sunlight through, they can prevent the oil from oxidizing. Also, because the nutrients of the fish are sealed in the can and then heated, important components don't leak out, which is another advantage. For those who are busy and don't have time to cook, I recommend eating canned fish. From the supplements recommended by doctors, here's number 3 on the list of healthy nutrients doctors recommend getting from supplements: folic acid and iron. These are especially recommended for those who are pregnant. Iron supplements are recommended for those who are deficient in iron and have anemia. Pregnant women tend to have lower iron levels, and those who have heavy menstrual bleeding are also more likely to have low iron. So in such cases, I may recommend iron supplements. There are also gummy supplements that contain iron, making it much easier to take. And another important nutrient is folic acid. Folic acid is actually a nutrient that is said to be essential for those who are planning to become pregnant or are in the early stages of pregnancy. In fact, there is solid data showing that taking folic acid can reduce the risk of congenital disorders of the brain and spine in newborn babies. Therefore, if you're trying to conceive or are already pregnant, please consider taking folic acid supplements under the guidance of your doctor. Now let's review the top 3. As one of the top 3 nutrients that doctors recommend you can take as supplements, the first one I introduced was vitamin D. Vitamin D is a nutrient that can strengthen your bones, reduce falls, help maintain muscle, and may also help improve depression. Since 98% of Japanese people have low levels, if you are lacking, you should try to make up for it through your diet, and if that's still not enough, I think you can consider supplements as well. The second is DHA and EPA. Fish oil has been shown to thin the blood and reduce clogged heart vessels and deaths caused by them. Supplements can also be recommended, but eating fish is even more effective. There is data showing that even increasing your fish intake by just 100 grams per week can lower your risk of heart vessel problems, so please try to include fish in your daily diet. The third point is iron and folic acid. Especially for women and pregnant women, please consider iron and folic acid supplements after consulting with your doctor. How was that? On this channel, I share easy to understand videos based on my own experiences as a doctor, so you can become healthier starting tomorrow. It would really motivate me, so I would be happy if you could subscribe to the channel. Also, please let me know in the comments what supplements you have taken and what effects you have experienced. If your doctor told you this and you're taking supplements, please also mention it in the comments. And whether it's a thumbs up or a thumbs down, if you could rate this video, it will help me improve my next videos. There are also videos related to vitamin D, fish oils, and medicines that doctors absolutely never take, so please check them out from the description if you're interested. Well then, see you in the next video. My very first book has been published. As a general practitioner, I've learned from my patients how to stay youthful after 70. I want to do the same. I never knew about these health methods. Thanks to the many patients I've met so far, I've gained a lot of insights. This book is filled with wisdom for living a healthy and happy life. Pre-orders are now available on Amazon. Pre-orders come with special bonuses. See the description below for details. The book releases in bookstores nationwide on January 18th. I'd be glad if you checked it out.